Hey everyone, welcome back to ShePropTalk. I am Beverly from Down in Creative Studios. So today we're going to be talking about costume contests, cosplay contests, and I have several guests with me today, which I'm really excited about. I have Abby from Abby Cat Cosplay.
Hello.
And then I have Melanie from Dila Designs.
Hi.
Hi. And we have Cowbutt Crunchies.
Hello.
Yay. This is so last minute. I really appreciate you being here. Like that, there was a post. I posted a question in SheProp about, hey, we're going to be doing this podcast about cosplay contests. And then, oh my God, the floodgates opened. And then we realized that just Abby and I probably weren't going to be able to, tackle as much content as we wanted. So thanks for being here.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, you posted that and I immediately word dumped 3 extremely large paragraphs and then messaged you and dumped many more paragraphs because I got opinions.
Yes. When Beverly said, can Cowbutt Crunchies also be on the podcast? She actually responded before I got that message, but I was like, yes, please, that would be great. Thank you.
So those of you that are somehow unfamiliar with Cowbutt Crunchies, please go look at their page, go check out their stuff. They are super experienced with both cosplay contests and also judging. So I'm really excited to have their insight and their notes on their opinions on the whole thing, which we don't have to tackle the whole thing. It's a really, really, really big, sometimes polarized subject.
It is, and honestly, a lot of it comes from, I think, the fact that there's so many different types of contests, and the contests, even, within similar types, are all run a bit wildly different. So one person's experience can be very, very different from another person's, and so I think a lot of people form different opinions based on their experience, but also based on the kind of cosplay that they're interested in, what they want to get out of it. So I'm not surprised whatsoever that everyone is very polarized on this topic.
Yeah, absolutely. And as the, as basic as materials become different, like as 3D printing becomes more prevalent and more accessible, and all these things start changing and people can start weaving in more and more different kinds of techniques and methods and all this stuff, it kind of makes things a little bit more, not complicated, but certainly a little bit more challenging on both ends of the spectrum, from the judging aspect and then also on the maker aspect.
Most likely.
Well, we had a couple of basic questions that I want to go over that people brought up in the group, and then I just kind of want to open it up to discussion, if that sounds good to you.
Oh, sounds great.
To everybody. So one of the first questions was actually the first one. She wants to know what's the difference between cosplay contests and a masquerade. And then also she's like, competitions between the US and Europe are totally different.
So I would say that the most general way to divide cosplay contests from masquerades is that there's an aspect of
kind of.
Yeah, there's a Venn diagram, but the big difference would be that by and large masquerades have a strong performance aspect to them. And even cosplay contests that have a stage portion, it's usually a presentation, 30-second walk on.
Oh, well, to be honest, I kind of hear the word cosplay contest as a very much catch-all. I hear the Comic-Con contests described as the cosplay contest, which really does not have the performance aspect. But I also hear masquerades described as the cosplay contest. So,
but I've never heard of a contest that doesn't have any kind of performance aspect described as a masquerade.
Right. That's why we've got the Venn diagram. You've got the big circle, and then inside is the smaller circle of masquerades.
Yes.
So you think the masquerade circle is fully inside the cosplay contest circle?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay,
got it.
I don't think I was clear on that either. That clears up a lot. Because then, the skits. I've judged before on a contest that was called a cosplay contest, then everybody had skits.
Which are more common at anime conventions, for sure.
Yeah.
They usually have a separate skit contest a lot of the time, too.
Well, and I've done a cosplay contest where we were just lining up and they just threw in there, and you can do a skit if you want. And we were like, oh, thank you for that heads up.
I also usually hear masquerade as a North American term. Europe is extremely performance heavy. But I still hear it described as cosplay contests over there.
Yeah.
So that sounds like one of the big differences between the contests that are held here in the States and abroad as guests. So can you tell us about some of the differences between that you have noticed between cons overseas and or at least the contests overseas and here in the States?
Well, the cosplay scenes on their own are pretty culturally different. There's a lot more emphasis on like screen accuracy in Europe, even to I don't want to say detriment because it's not bad, it's just different. But
it's the cosplayer will there's been multiple situations where the cosplayer has said, I know this thing, points to the costume, is very silly, but
or wrong.
Here is the reference where it's present, and so I put it on there. Whereas over here, we wouldn't think twice about axing something.
We would be
that.
like, well, if the character was wearing a garment, the garment would not be doing that. And I can't trust an animator, so I'm just going to do it the right way.
Right. Or like, for instance, if an outfit has 5 buttons on it, but I'm not 9 heads high, and that would look very silly on me, I'll take a button off, and it's still totally acceptable. Whereas there's not really that idea. Some people go real hard with perfect accuracy, and so a lot of times you'll get these really gorgeous screen accurate cosplays that maybe they don't have the largest quantity of materials, but it's absolutely flawless. And so there's a really great emphasis on that. And I think for some countries, it partially comes from the fact that materials are not always as accessible as they are over here.
America is definitely
we're very spoiled.
The place to get everything.
Yeah, I heard that Plasti Dip over there is like $16 a can.
Oh yeah,
it's
wild.
Arta, a single, like a cheaper Arta wig will cost you like $90 between shipping and customs.
And in Germany, we were talking with a bunch of folks, and like just even okay fabric is wildly expensive, and so you can choose a costume that maybe is not quite as insanely elaborate in terms of materials, but make that darn thing perfectly. So I think the big culture shock was definitely the accuracy, like the different interpretation of what does accuracy mean. Whereas over here, I think we have a much looser definition. I like to think of it as how well did you translate a 2-dimensional figure into the real world? Did you make the smart decisions to make that work on a real human being, to choose materials that make it look like it belongs in this reality, rather than make it exactly like it appears on paper?
It's just a different in perspective. And then most of the European cons have a stronger emphasis on performance than we do.
It varies depending on the contest. Like Euro Cosplay was actually not much at all. It was only 20%.
It's 20% is more than it is in anything that is not like a classic masquerade here in the States.
But boy, oh boy, even though it was only 20%, everyone went hard. Like, it was a great performance. And then usually I think the other circuit contests will have a much higher percentage, so like 50%, 60%. The other thing is, with the exception of the circuit contests, which is someone from each country sends a representative, and then you have a final held somewhere. A lot of the qualifiers, at least the ones we have seen, are not as big as over here. Like over here, you know how we've got like 40 contestants on average? Think more like 10. These are for circuit contests. So, and we do have a small handful over here, but compared to the sheer number of other contests, we don't have that much of a percentage. So a circuit contest is something where you have one contest and a winner is chosen. And then you have a contest B and a winner is chosen, and then maybe a couple more. And then all of those winners are sent to another con where they go head to head to determine the finalist. So the Crown Championships and WCS are
and
probably,
Fan Expo.
Yeah, our Fan Expo
are
the big ones
USA
that I can think
ones.
of. And there's several more in Europe that are that people participate in over there. It's definitely a big thing, and I think it's really cool. I'm very jealous. I wish we had more things like that. But because most of the contests are much smaller, you don't really have divisions the way that we need to have over here when we have 40 folks entering.
So over here, I'm saying in the States, if you want to enter a contest, you have to send like work in progress pictures and you have to be finished at a certain percentage with your costume at the time of submission. Do you know if it's similar over there?
Well, no, because there were definitely, when we were in Germany judging one of the qualifiers, there were definitely people who like dropped out the morning of because they hadn't finished.
Yeah, but at the same time over here, there's definitely some contests where you also don't necessarily have to do that. I think both here and there, it might just depend on what con it is that you're competing at.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been to competitions where they don't even have prejudging, so that does happen sometimes.
Yeah, like Wizard World.
Like Wizard World. Or a lot of the smaller ones, if you're going to smaller local cons, it's literally just sign up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can sign up day of.
Yeah, or just get in line, get on stage.
If they don't have enough contestants, they're like yelling to people that are in cosplay, being like, join the contest, join the contest.
That was me at Konnichiwa this last summer. We had like maybe just a few people, and then we had more prizes to give out than we had contestants. So we actually went out and we're grabbing people. We're like, hey, you gotta come and and it was a great contest. It was awesome.
Yeah, there was. Scone reminded me there was a contest that we were judging for a bit ago, and we actually did not have any journeymen. So we had a journeyman trophy left over, or rather, we elevated someone to win best journeyman, and then we had the runner-up trophy left. And the coordinator took it and wrote in Sharpie "best judges" underneath it, and so now we have a journeyman trophy.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. That's perfect. Yeah, so that brings me to my next question. In the thread today, there seems to be a lot of folks that are wishing that the categories in which these contests have that they're not structured the same. They're so different. Sometimes it doesn't seem like it's fair. Like you won't have a master category. You'll have just like beginners or like a catch-all category. What do you think works well? Because I also know you have also been in the cosplay scene for a very long time. So you've also seen things evolve.
Yeah, I don't really think the categories, other than the prolific rise of, the way Comic-Cons divide things, that's a hot newness.
Well, I think you see a lot more small cons popping up now that maybe are not drawing off. So in the dark ages, the way cons would work, or anime cons, because anime cons sort of grew out of nothing because the science fiction people wanted to have nothing to do with us. You would... Yeah, no, literally they were like, these weird anime kids when they grow up, they'll like Star Trek and they'll come to our cons, so we're just going to ignore them. And, that's a whole history lesson on its own. But you had people staffing at bigger cons, and then they would go off and form a con in their local area. So things were a lot more consistent back then, but now you just have sort of people who go to cons and they have $5,000 they're willing to gamble, and they'll say, I'm going to start a one-day con at my local Holiday Inn, and my friend cosplays so she can run the contest. So you get a lot of variation now, especially in small cons where it's like beginners and advanced, or like children are included in the novices, or
that's weird.
It is. It's really inconsistent. But usually there is some beginner/novice group. Yeah, there is some mastery level group, and hopefully there is some kind of intermediate journeyman level group.
Although sometimes there's not. So, sometimes they just don't have the numbers.
I think that is the way to do it. I think if it warrants it, the bonus professional group is nice, but most cons don't warrant that. Dragon Con does that, and it makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I think a lot of people get confused because the rules about, which category am I in, often boils down to, how many contests have you won?
or what the coordinator, who may not be involved in any other contests, wrote in their rules.
Right. But the thing is sometimes, a lot of times, people will not begin to enter until they're pretty experienced. Like, that was the way we did it. We started entering, and we entered as journeymen because that's what we felt we were at. And I think the problem is that the rules only give you a guideline in terms of, well, what contests have you competed in? And so if someone who's never competed before is sitting there like, I don't think I'm a novice, but I don't know how to judge myself, they're kind of stuck. And I think we had a rule of thumb that we were kind of thinking of in terms of what we expect from a good novice and a good journeyman.
I definitely know what a novice looks like versus what a journeyman is, but we've been doing this for 20 years and judging for 5.
I think with novices, like, if you're looking at like the top novice in the group, it should be someone who has a good grasp on foundations, like they understand the fit of a garment, they understand how to work with the fabric type and the material that they've chosen. And, you know, maybe they're only doing one type of material or one type of technique, but they're doing a good job.
Or they've done a pretty solid job with, like,
a couple.
Maybe they have a dress and a staff.
Yeah,
and they're not.
And or usually what kind of cinches it is they've shown some kind of really cool creative ingenuity, some kind of really cool passion. That gets important in the novice category, in my opinion, because it's not as important to be perfect. It's more important to love what you're doing. And then journeyman, what I want to be seeing is you need to expand on that mastery and kind of wet your wheel on more techniques. So you should have a couple techniques under your belt and you're executing them all well. You should have nothing that is poorly made on your costume. So journeyman is just about increasing that, doing more, having more experience. And then once you're into the master's category, cleanliness is absolutely king.
It all comes down to finishing and, like,
are you making smart choices? Do you have a wide breadth of techniques? Does it look great?
Artisanal materials.
Yeah. Especially with really high level contests, unfortunately, like once you get to like the crown championships or even like a national level contest, everyone is so good that the second you have a flaw on your costume, it is done for you. So, you know, more is not always better. I did not realize that. Like, I competed for the first time, like, seriously, in like 2016. And then in 2017, I did New York. And I didn't realize until after that contest that I should have spent more time making that dang outfit perfect than doing more techniques. Because that is the killer once you're at that level. And then I learned, and then I killed myself on Helga.
Yeah.
And that was the main thing I tried to do with Helga.
That level is pretty specific to those really high level contests.
Yes. I think if you are at your local contest or even your state run contest, that is not super important. But if you are entering as a master, you should probably think about it.
I mean, I think that's like where a lot of the frustration comes with people who are not familiar with, like, sort of the differences between entering in a local contest and New York Comic Con. The standards are different and the judging is different, and whether that's good or bad, it would be really difficult to sort of standardize that, I think, between your, like, one day, you know, like North Framingham costume contest where it's like sign up the day of and you have
I love that costume contest. That is the best costume.
I made that up.
I know you did.
I will say though, when in doubt, enter lower. And that is not you trying to be a jerk. What that is if you're like, God, I don't know if I'm a novice or a journeyman, I really don't know. You enter as a novice, or, you know, if you're friends with the judge, just ask their opinion, or you enter as a novice. And then you say to the judge or the coordinator, hey, I entered as a novice, but I'm not really sure where I should go. So please move me if you think it's appropriate. Because we have and can move people up. And when we think that they should really be a journeyman, or even like we have moved novices into journeymen and then given them best journeyman. but we cannot move you down. It is an insult to you if you think you are a journeyman, and we don't want to do that to you.
And it breaks my heart because a lot of times, like, my best novice entered as a journeyman. And I'm like, I wish you had not done that, because you are a novice, almost at journeyman, and you would have won, but you're not quite there yet.
Now, the exception is if you did win the required number of contests in the rules. Obviously, don't
do that to cheat. But if you're genuinely not sure, I don't know of any judge that if you go in, you're honestly like, hey, I entered as this, I wasn't really sure. You're more experienced than I am. I don't know of any judge that's going to hold that against you. They'll bump you if they think you need to be bumped.
Yeah, like, I mean, I think the discipline breakdown makes sense with high level contests where everyone really should be a master or a journeyman. So like the Crown, BlizzCon, Twitch. There's no need for a novice category. It doesn't make sense. But, you know, people like me, who every costume does not fit into one place, it's kind of a detriment, because where do you go? And then it's kind of a detriment to the judges, who then get a armor outfit in their needlework category and either don't know what to do, or how are you going to award that best needlework when maybe it was pretty good needlework and then really good and then pretty good armor, but then someone else had more needlework? Like, how do you decide that? Do you just disqualify this person? Like, how does this work? I'm less perturbed by the categories if you have the category awards, because you do want to award needlework people and award armor people, etc. But then you do have like a 1, 2, 3, regardless of what the costume is made of. I think that is a happier medium. However, I don't think that's the way that a lot of the Comic-Cons work. I've seen over and over again, 1, 2, and 3 goes to whoever was the top of those 3 categories, shifted into some order.
I honestly think that's why Hella won the way she did.
My Hella?
Yeah, because
it was a weird category. Like, I entered as armor because I was like, well, I don't know what to do. Like, I sewed it, like it's a bodysuit, and I did a whole bunch of like textile things. But then I got this giant like piece of foam on my head, and I got silicone on my body, but I was really proud of the sewing work that I had done, so that was like an achievement. So yeah, I was in a totally weird
but you didn't,
space.
You didn't place in any of your categories, but she won second overall.
Yes.
See, and if they're willing to do that and say, well, 1, 2, and 3, I don't care what category you were in. That's definitely a little better, because that means that, yes, you weren't the best sewer or the best armor, but you sure did have a great combination of things regardless of where they were in. But if you had judges who were capable of judging across the division, that might not have happened. So it's a gamble, I think. It's a gamble for what judges you get and for how the contest decides to award 1, 2, and 3. So it's not my favorite.
Well, maybe we can talk a little bit about something that's kind of a hard topic to talk about sometimes, but the aspect of like expectations and going into a contest and then not placing where you think you should be placing. That's really tough pill to swallow for some people. Some people enter contests all the time and they never place, and they have fun, and for them it's about being in the line with people and meeting the other makers and being backstage and that whole experience. But I feel like maybe, is it getting worse? I don't know. Maybe because I'm a little bit more present online that I'm seeing it, or we're at the end of the year where people are done with contest or cosplays. Conventions. And so now they're kind of like recapping their year, or I don't know.
Personally, like for me, it's like if I'm not enjoying what I'm doing, I'm not gonna do it. Like, so entering a contest, but I'm upset by the outcome, like if it's not enjoyable, why are you doing that to yourself? If you're getting so upset, like, everybody processes things differently, but I don't know. For me personally, I don't like to compete, and it's not because I didn't win. I just don't like the amount of time it takes. All the prejudging, like, I feel like I'm at a convention, I'm there to have fun, I want to see my friends, I want to interact. So for me, it's a time thing. Like, I wouldn't care if I won or not. But I feel like the people that get really upset, like, they're forgetting their own happiness a little bit, and you should be enjoying what you're doing. But that's just my 2 cents.
No, I am 100% ready to get on that, wave that banner with you. Because people,
being stressed sucks.
Well, and also, I think people have this idea that in order to be successful or to get followers or to get commissions or to be quote-unquote successful as a cosplayer, you have to have wins under your belt or compete under your belt. And there was a TV show a little while ago that I think contributed to that mindset. But I think people forget that cosplay competitions are optional. You don't have to do them to be successful. You don't have to do them to be respected in the community or for people to know who you are. If that's even what you want. I've talked to so many people who say that they're defeated, that their competition experiences make them not want to cosplay at all. Or, I mean, it can be really defeating. And that's horrible. And cosplay is supposed to be fun. Like, if you're feeling like that, put on a dress, put on a wig, and go have some fun with your friends and relax about it.
If it's sucking the joy out of you, it's probably not for you.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of people who feel the way that you do about, like, oh, the process is not fun, but it'll be worth it when I win. And, like, even if you are perfect, depending on the pool, if somebody's just, like, a smidge more perfect, you're not going to win, and then you've had a miserable time and have nothing to show for it.
I was of your mindset, actually, like, oh god, I'm getting old. Like 4 or 5 years ago, I refused to enter contests because I was like, no, I don't want to do all the time. I want to spend my time at the con with my friends. Why would I ever want to do a contest? And I was very, very happy, never competing. And then I have a different mindset now, because when I compete, there's like all these non-related to winning reasons that are really great about it. Like, you get to meet so many people. It's really exciting to be on stage if you're the kind of person who really likes that, which I am. It's very thrilling. You know, you've got this kind of, like, I get to show off my work. Honestly, like, I have met so many people through contests. It's really, really awesome. And those are all things that really don't have anything to do with placing. So if you are not enjoying the process of the contest and you only care about the outcome, you might want to step away from it until you can enjoy all of the other aspects of competing and are doing it for a reason other than that prize. It's because, you know, I've seen the complaint of, I worked so hard at this, I put so much effort into this, why didn't I win? And I think sometimes people forget that, the other 39 people also worked really, really hard, and everyone put in the effort. And sometimes it's not about what you did wrong. It's just that someone else did something really, really cool. And I think you have to bear that in mind.
I mean, it's the same as if you hate the process of making a costume, but you push yourself through it, like, because you're like, oh, all the attention I'm going to get at the con is going to be worth it. And then maybe somebody shows up in this, like, giant bumblebee robot thing, and that's the star of the con. It's like, if you don't like the process, if it's 90% pain and 10% joy, maybe you should buy your costumes on Taobao and save yourself some misery and have fun that way.
I've also found that some of the reasons that I compete, I mean, winning is nice. It's always nice to do that. I'm not going to say I would turn it down. But sometimes I just have costumes that I want to twirl around on a stage in. Yeah. Like, that sounds like Carol Burnett was one where I entered that costume thinking, why would this ever win or place or do anything? And I really just wanted to flounce around with a curtain rod on my back. It was fun. I loved it. And I've met some amazing friends waiting for prejudging or waiting backstage for your category to be called. And the social aspect of it can be so positive.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, in our area, it is separated into categories a lot. So I've been backstage with a lot of other sewers, and you talk to people about your experience or your patterns, or you flip seams and compliment other people on their foundation garments, or whatever it is. You get some really great bonding time. That's one of my favorite parts of it.
Yeah. I'm sure you both get this question all the time, but people asking for advice for competing. And I think that's a really, really broad question. So I kind of want to narrow that down just a little bit. Like, what, as a competitor, do you like to see people walking into for their 5-minute review when you're looking at their costume? Like, what are some things that you would tell someone to make sure that they do?
So is this specifically about prepping for prejudging, which we can answer, or is this more about what we as judges look for in contestants, which we can also answer?
Can we do both?
Yeah. So we've got a list of things that we like and a list of things that we don't like.
So as a judge, my like number one thing that I like literally have like shushed people, like, don't come in and the first thing out of your mouth is like, oh, I fucked this up, or
you messed up the podcast.
Oh, sorry.
Gotta be bleeped.
She can bleep. It'll be funny.
We're just one big long bleep.
Come in and like be ready to be happy about your costume. Like, if you're not happy and psyched on yourself, like, why would I be?
This is your time to advocate for yourself. And to be honest, you have been the one sitting in a little dark room for 3 months with your costume and inspecting every square inch. And maybe you can see that seam is a little bit crooked, but maybe we didn't. So if you pointed out to us,
that's all I can see. Yeah. And people have ruined their costumes for me, which is horrible. The other thing I really like is when people talk about like a problem that they encountered and how they solved it. Because a lot of times these costumes make no sense in reality. They're like magic. And they're like, well, I can't levitate rocks, so I strung them on fishing wire. And it's like galaxy brain meme.
The other things that you definitely want to prep for, first of all, just prep. Just be prepared. Read the rules ahead of time, because every contest is, in fact, different. And prep a judging booklet ahead of time. That should have your reference in it, obviously. That should have some quantity of progress pictures just to kind of show that you made the costume, in case for whatever odd reason there is any kind of question that's going to be what we need to reference. And then if you want, you can also use it to advocate for yourself. I would not put a lot of text in because, unfortunately, as I am sure you know, we don't really get any time whatsoever to read the text. So be as concise as possible. A picture tells 1,000 words, and one picture tells a lot more words than 13. And the other thing is, if it's in the book, do not assume that is all you need to do. The book is to help you, but you can't assume that we're going to read it afterwards because we probably don't have time. What is going to help you infinitely more is speaking about your costume. It is in the book, cool, but you need to tell us. So use those 5 minutes to just keep talking. Make sure you touch on every piece of your costume. Head to toe is really, really helpful, especially for complex stuff. But just don't go in there and clam up. You just want to make sure you keep speaking and advocating for yourself.
Just keep talking until the judge asks you something, and then continue to talk. How do you guys prep for? Because everybody preps different.
Well, I primarily am a sewer, so sometimes I'll have props or things like that. So just know that most of this is coming from a sewing perspective. You walk in and say, I made everything myself. A lot of people did. So that's not going to set you apart. So focus on the things that you did that is going to set you apart. Are all of your seams French seams? Show those seams. Did you, is everything finished with a serged edge? Did you make your foundation garments? Can you show your foundation garments? Can you get it on and off by yourself? I mean, even bragging about something like that can be really impressive, as opposed to having or needing a contingent of helpers to get you in and out of the costume. Find those things that makes your costume different than the person who's going to come in right behind you.
Yeah. Like everyone's so, like find the thing that always wows someone when you tell them about your costume. Like this hella helmet only weighs like 2 pounds, or it weighs less than 2 pounds. Oh my God. And look, they come off. I don't really, I don't enter contests anymore because I like to enjoy my day and my evening, because it usually falls on Saturday and that's usually when my friends are hanging out. So, but when I have always gone in there with a prepared blurb. Like it's the second I'm in that door looking at the judges, I start talking like you're saying, but I practice that. I make my husband sit and listen to me hit all of the points that I want to talk about. And I usually do start from the head and go down to my feet. And including the prop. I think a lot of times in other things that I've judged, people will spend all their time talking about one thing, and they've got this gigantic, amazing prop that they haven't. We're at the end. We're like approaching 15 minutes, and we got to get them out the door because the line is we got to get things rolling, and they haven't really talked about the prop yet.
Yeah, Beverly, you want to hear a funny story? So at the crown judging. I'm doing my prejudging with Helga, and I like you. I rehearse this like a stupid amount, but like there's just so much garbage on this costume, and I'm just talking, and I get through it. It's like just about in its time, and I'm done. And then Yaya goes, "What's this?" and points at my shoulder piece.
Oh no! The thing that almost killed you.
Time out of anything. Were like 4 months of the 6-month process.
Right before I went on stage recently, I realized I left my belt in the hotel room, and I had to. Fortunately, I had a husband who was sent on that errand, and he came back.
Oh, there you go. There's a good advice. Bribe somebody to be your helper, and helping is fun. If you're not into competing, helping's fun because you still get to go backstage. You still get to meet everybody. You're more comfortable. And now they owe you dinner.
Honestly, that's what I prefer doing. Like
Me too.
I like being the helper sometimes more than I like cosplaying. I fully support my friends that want to compete. That's great if they enjoy it. It's just not necessarily. I guess I had a couple bad experiences myself, so I'm just like, whatever.
Yeah. It's not for everyone. Scone refuses to compete. She won't do it. She doesn't like it.
I don't like it. Why would I compete when I can be your helper and wear jeans?
Yeah, but I mean, I've been plenty of, I've been flown to cons specifically so I can wrestle people around and make sure they're in the right place at the right time, make sure everything's sticking together, and I like doing that stuff. So for me, that I find that more enjoyable, and I rather root on my friends than,
my husband is my handler for several cosplay competitions, and he talks about being the handler when everybody goes out to get their judges, and somebody is crowned the winner, and the handler of the winner gets congratulated by all the other handlers.
It's true.
Wait, do you guys have like handler club?
Yeah, we have we have a little club in the back of the stage, and we're like, yeah, and high five each other about it.
I didn't know this.
Yeah, being a handler is an awesome way to participate in the competition community without competing. So I highly advise it.
My mind is blown. I am astounded.
Yeah, Maggie's husband and I were like best bros at NYCC.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say at C2E2 when you we're at a different con and kicked a chair.
I was not at C2E2.
Yeah.
Well, was there any? I mean, we could obviously talk about this for 6 hours, but we're gonna wrap up pretty soon. Was there anything else that you had in mind that you would want to talk about or bring up?
Yeah, I guess I think the question that a lot of people, like sometimes we get asked this, and then I think some people are afraid to ask this because I think there is a stigma about asking for judging feedback or asking a judge, well, what are you guys looking for? And a lot of people are afraid to do. We actually have started to run like a workshop-ish panel at certain cons that have the capacity for it, where people can come in individually and get judging feedback and advice that way. But like in terms of what we're looking for, and as judges, when people say, well, how should I improve? How should I level up my cosplay? For us specifically, I think and this is kind of what I had posted, it boils down to who has the most impressive cosplay and who has the most impressive skill set. And there's kind of like 4 things that go into those. Impressive skill set could mean difficult skills, or it could mean lots of different skills. And then impressive cosplay could mean, is it perfectly clean? Is it beautifully made? Or is there a lot of ingenuity and creativity and passion that went into it? And a lot of times, picking a winner is kind of a balance of all of these things, which is why sometimes something that is clean and simple and beautiful can win, or sometimes something that's really complex and interesting can win. So it's kind of like weighing the pros and cons of every costume against itself. And there's not one specific thing that is going to ever guarantee you a win. But it's kind of, looking at each costume and deciding who brought the most to the table. And this is just us. Every judge is quite different.
And every contest is different.
Yeah. But I'd say if you're looking for a way to kind of look for a direction to go in, not necessarily because you want to win first place, because that's not a great reason to do it, but if you want to elevate your cosplay and try and challenge yourself, those are kind of the 4 things that I like to focus on.
My last piece of advice is also to just keep in mind why you're doing this. Is it to have fun? Is it to challenge yourself? Is it because you enjoy the process? And if it starts becoming because I want to win, are you enjoying it?
Yeah.
Is it still fun?
Yeah.
I just keep that in the back of your mind. As soon as this becomes toxic for you for any reason, maybe competitions are something you should leave in the past.
Yeah, exactly. Yay, group hug. Well, thank you everybody for being here. This is I think the biggest group that I've ever done.
Hey, I wasn't
podcast
even
with.
supposed to be a part of
I
it.
know you totally came and crashed, and that was awesome. Thank you, Cowbutt Crunchies, for being here, and Abbycat Cosplay and Dila Designs. Thank you so much for tuning in, and if you have made it this far, please come and check out the SheProp community and find us online everywhere, like all the social media accounts. We're going to try to be a little bit more active on those because I think that 2020 is going to be our year. I'm really excited. There's also a SheProp Latino America that has started, and we're seeing a lot of extensions of SheProp happening. So I'm really excited about this, the direction that everything's going in. So thank you for the love.
Oh, I got another little thing to plug.
Oh, yes.
We are also revamping our SheProp panel submission application.
Oh,
so
yes.
if you have a con or an event in your area and you want SheProp to be there, or if you want to host a SheProp panel, there's now a place to submit that, and we would like to have partners help with that.
Yeah.
And we can't be everywhere.
A little fancier. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.